Good morning. My name is Tim Sutherland, and my wife Kathy and I have loved being part of Christ Lutheran's faith community for many years. I'm sharing this morning a brief personal story to provide an example of someone who has received benefit as a care receiver from a caregiver through our congregation's Stephen Ministry program. I am speaking to encourage others to take advantage of this wonderful national program that is free locally here at Christ Lutheran and consists of volunteers specially trained to provide care. Just to be clear, Stephen's Ministry is a completely confidential program. No one knows that you are receiving Stephen Ministry. No one knows your caregiver except for the pastors and the Stephen Ministry staff person who initially made the connection. And no one knows what you discuss, not even our pastors or other Stephen ministers. The only way some of this can become public is through a decision made by a care receiver who might share some of their story. So now I'm going to briefly talk about a tragedy that occurred in my family, what a Stephen minister care provider offered to me as a result, and what I learned for my life going forward. On March 10, 2018, Kathy and I were participating in an event here at church. I suddenly noticed on my phone that my sister was texting and leaving me messages. I soon learned that my brother Dan, 1 year younger than me, had possibly been involved in gun violence. This did not make any sense given Dan and my sister-in-law Deb lived in a sparsely populated county in northern Michigan. Soon I learned Dan had been shot at his home and had been found by Deb after she returned from work. Later I was to learn that a troubled young adult that Dan and Deb had befriended and tried to help since his high school years, who was currently on probation and on the run from authorities, was the one who shot my brother. This person later confessed he stole a gun from a nearby cabin and came to my brother's house to steal a car so he could try to flee out of state. I will never fully know the motive of why he shot my brother. Dan had always been very kind to him. Why would he shoot Dan and leave him to suffer? When he was found, Dan was airlifted to a hospital in nearby Traverse City. By the time I traveled and made it to the hospital, I realized more fully how serious things were. Dan had been shot multiple times and remained in a coma. Doctors indicated he might lose sight in one eye and have brain damage. Dan already had a closed head injury and was partially disabled from a construction accident many years earlier. I waited with his wife, their adult son and daughter, a cousin, and others. Dan seemed to stay stable the next day, and so we were hopeful his outlook could improve. We continued to wait and pray, but finally the doctor told us that his body was shutting down and he could not overcome his injuries. Family members all gathered in Dan's room to say our goodbyes before life support would be shut off. I was able to lean over, put my arms around Dan, cry, tell him I loved him, and give him a goodbye kiss. After Dan's death, our pastors included my family in the weekly prayer list, and members of our congregation reached out to Kathy and me. Pastor Tim came and prayed with us and asked if I would like a Stephen minister to provide support. So a caregiver began coming to my home for an hour each week, not as a professional counselor, but rather someone trained with skills to walk alongside me. I now had someone with an additional perspective, who listened well, who had helpful scriptures and healing theology to share, and could help me talk through the unanswerable question of why my brother had to suffer with disability and have a tragic early end to his life, while I have been so blessed with such able-bodied health. My Stephen minister helped me understand how we all grieve in our own way and within our own timeline, and stressed the importance of focusing on self-care, personal healing, and stopping to take a break from my normal life. My caregiver helped me learn that I am a doer and that it would be dangerous for me to just keep going and not take time to talk and reflect. I realized more fully that I internalized things, having grown up conditioned to be stoic and to not express emotion. One suggestion he made was for me to write down memories of Dan, not just the many positive things, but also struggles that we had. Even though it is more than a year and a half later and there are things I did not take in at the time, I am still reflecting on that process. In 2020, now into 2021, we have all just come through a very unsettling pandemic and period of division in our country, all of which has created lots of stress and mental exhaustion, both personally and for our congregation. As we all continue to move forward as Christians and people of faith during uncertain times, please keep in mind that we are so blessed to have 11 Stephen ministers in our midst who are eager to come walk with us when grief and loss overwhelms from one single trauma or when a series of struggles all add up at once. Thanks for letting me share, and please keep all our caregivers and care receivers in your ongoing prayers. Let me close with the wonderful scripture my caregiver shared with me from John chapter 11 about how Jesus has such great personal love and compassion for those suffering around the issue of death. From verses 33 to 36. When Jesus saw Martha weeping, and those who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid Lazarus?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So they said, "See how much he loved him."